There are moments in life when clarity replaces confusion, and events begin to align in ways that feel intentional rather than accidental. For many individuals who have felt overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed, a distinct shift is now taking place. What was once dismissed as weakness is now being understood as strength. This is especially true for those often referred to as chosen ones, individuals who endure setbacks not because they are weak, but because their resilience is being refined for a greater purpose. It is not uncommon for individuals with great potential to experience seasons marked by betrayal, misunderstanding, and delay. These experiences can be deeply painful, especially when the criticism or rejection comes from those closest to them. Friends, colleagues, or even family members may fail to recognize the depth of potential they are witnessing, and often it is only in hindsight that these same individuals begin to realize the consequences of their actions or their failure to support and believe in someone who was destined to rise. This is the context in which a profound shift begins. Those who once doubted or disregarded you are now being confronted with the reality of your growth. They are beginning to recognize what they missed and what it cost them. But the shift is not just about others acknowledging your worth. More importantly, it's about your own recognition of the value you've always carried. This awareness forms the foundation of your next chapter. For individuals who identify with the journey of being a chosen one, it's important to understand that elevation doesn't arrive overnight. It is the result of enduring long periods of uncertainty and hardship. Many such individuals have experienced the quiet pain of giving generously, forgiving often, and showing patience in the face of disrespect. These acts were not signs of fragility. Rather, they were expressions of inner strength, traits that are now becoming visible to the same people who once took them for granted. As this shift occurs, those same individuals, friends, peers, or even critics, start to acknowledge the impact of their choices. While you remained consistent in your values, they misinterpreted kindness for weakness and patience for passivity. What they failed to see was the resolve behind your quiet demeanor and the intentional growth happening beneath the surface. Painful as these experiences were, they played a necessary role in your transformation. Hardship often reveals what comfort conceals. It sharpens your awareness, tests your endurance, and forces you to reassess your relationships and boundaries. In this regard, adversity becomes a teacher. And for the chosen one, these lessons are internalized and used as building blocks for lasting strength. Many who walk this path find that their growth becomes most evident when they begin to establish boundaries, not as a form of exclusion, but as a means of protecting their energy and reinforcing their self-worth. When individuals begin to choose themselves, prioritize their peace, and distance themselves from environments that no longer serve their purpose, transformation accelerates. The shift can be unsettling for those who remained stagnant while you evolved. As your focus increases and your progress becomes visible, those who underestimated you begin to realize the opportunity they lost. But this realization is not your responsibility to manage. The process of growth often involves a reorganization of your relationships. Some people remain part of your journey, and others do not. This natural separation is not about revenge or resentment. It is about alignment. The chosen one's path often involves walking away, not out of pride, but out of clarity. There comes a time when staying connected to what is familiar becomes more harmful than helpful. Recognizing this truth empowers you to step into environments where your values are respected and your contributions are recognized. And that, ultimately, creates space for deeper fulfillment and sustained progress. Additionally, self-doubt is a recurring element in the journey. When others constantly question your capabilities, it's easy to internalize that uncertainty. But the fact that you continued moving forward, even in the absence of support, is what defines your strength. Perseverance through doubt builds confidence that cannot be borrowed. It must be earned. And once earned, it becomes the foundation upon which sustainable success is built. This journey is not just about professional or external achievements. The deeper transformation happens internally. The ability to rise after a setback, to stay soft despite being hurt, and to continue believing despite being doubted, these qualities cannot be faked. They are the result of a long process of refinement, one that only the truly committed can endure. Now that the shift is underway, many who once misjudged you are confronted with the contrast between who you were and who you have become. While they remained focused on limitations, you leaned into possibility. While they clung to certainty, you embraced the unknown. And now, your resilience speaks louder than their doubt ever did. As your influence grows, you will find that your presence alone begins to shift conversations and dynamics. This is not because of something you acquired, but because of who you have become. Leadership in this context is not about hierarchy, it is about example. You become a reference point for others navigating their own uncertainties. You become evidence that setbacks do not end the story. They simply mark a chapter of transformation. This recognition does not require external validation. True growth is not loud. It is measured in consistency, in integrity, and in the peace you carry, regardless of your circumstances. As others reflect on how they treated you, you continue to move forward, focused, aligned, and determined. Because at this stage of the journey, the shift is no longer about proving anyone wrong. It is about proving to yourself that you were right to believe, even when no one else did. The process of transformation does not end with recognition. For the chosen one, the next phase is about sustainability. How to manage growth, preserve clarity, and continue building in alignment with purpose. This phase is not about proving anything further. It is about stewardship. It's about maintaining the balance between inner stability and outer expansion. Many who experience a turning point in their personal journey are tempted to revert to past behaviors, especially when met with familiar situations or individuals. The key to continued elevation is maintaining the boundaries and principles that were forged in the season of growth. Once you've risen, sustaining that elevation requires discipline, humility, and self-awareness. As your influence expands, it becomes clear that people are now paying attention. But this attention is not validation. It is a reminder. It reminds you of the responsibility that comes with visibility. When your life becomes an example for others, your choices matter beyond your own outcomes. Every word, every action, and every decision carries weight, and this awareness becomes part of the chosen one's leadership. But leadership does not mean control. It means consistency. It means remaining rooted in values, especially when the environment changes. The power that once felt distant now resides within you, and it expresses itself not through dominance, but through calm authority. You don't have to speak the loudest. Your presence alone conveys the lessons you've learned. This stage of the journey is also about alignment. As you move forward, you begin to attract opportunities, connections, and spaces that reflect your inner clarity. These are not accidental. They are evidence of energetic alignment. You begin to realize that you don't have to chase anything. What belongs to you will arrive in due time because you are prepared to receive it. It's important to understand that the shift others now see in you was never about image. It was always about identity. The world is now seeing a version of you that was hidden during your season of growth, not because you were invisible, but because the timing wasn't right. Now that your preparation is complete, your purpose becomes visible. And this visibility often leads others, especially those who once dismissed you, to revisit their prior assumptions. Some may seek reconciliation. Others may try to reattach themselves to your journey. But discernment is essential. Not everyone who returns is meant to stay. Some people are simply reminders of how far you've come. Their role was temporary, and their exit necessary. Still, forgiveness remains a key part of your evolution. Not for their benefit, but for yours. Carrying resentment creates unnecessary weight on a path that now requires lightness. The chosen. One understands that closure is not about conversations. It's about clarity. When you truly understand someone's limitations, you no longer expect them to offer what they're incapable of giving. And that understanding frees you. This is also the time to reinforce your commitment to continued growth. Just because the people around you are changing doesn't mean the work is complete. The next level will require new insight, new discipline, and new courage. You must be willing to keep learning, keep evolving, and keep moving even when the applause fades. Internal validation is more reliable than external affirmation. You already know what it took to reach this point: the sacrifices, the doubt, the rebuilding. And because you know your story, you are no longer waiting for others to interpret it for you. You have the authority to define it yourself. That's the strength of the chosen one. Not needing a stage to know your own impact. From this point forward, your presence will serve as confirmation. People will sense it. They may not know the details, but they will feel the energy of someone who has done the work. And for some, your journey will become the reference point for their own possibilities. Your resilience will give others permission to rise. This is what transformation does. It multiplies. It is never just for the individual. It's for everyone who comes into contact with that individual. As a chosen one, you carry a legacy that extends beyond your lifetime. Your decisions, your growth, your integrity, it all becomes part of a ripple effect that touches others in unseen ways. You may never fully know who was watching or who was inspired by your example, but that is not the point. The goal was never to be seen. The goal was to become. And now that you've become, the impact will continue, whether acknowledged or not. The shift you've experienced also marks a new type of confidence. Not the EBE kind that needs attention, but the kind that provides reassurance. When others are anxious, you bring calm. When others are lost, you provide clarity. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned how to stay grounded. And in a world that often feels unstable, groundedness is leadership. Furthermore, the glow you now carry cannot be touched by those who once tried to dim it. That glow is not aesthetic. It's the result of healing. It's what happens when someone faces their past without fear, accepts themselves without conditions, and chooses growth even when it's difficult. That glow is evidence of inner peace, and it cannot be fabricated. Many will wonder how it happened. They'll ask what changed. They'll assume something external, new success, a new job, or new connections. But the real shift happened internally. That's what they missed. And by the time they understand, you'll already be operating in a new reality. So what comes next? Sustained alignment, purposeful action, quiet confidence, no longer trying to prove anything, simply living the truth of who you are.